Take a journey with me through the further where we evade the lipstick demon and other demons and try to save our family members as we talk about the long-running Insidious franchise. Oh boy, what a franchise this was. Yeah, it went further into bullshit as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I'm John Rethnam with By the Numbers, Episode 7 on the Insidious movies. The Insidious movies, it ends at 5. They're not going to do any more than 5. There's no way they'll do any more than 5. Kinda, maybe, sorta. They might do another one in 5 or so years because money, because they're just going to milk that franchise dry. This does not look like milking at all. This does not look like milking. This is utterly ridiculous, this imagery. But yes, the Insidious movies. Started small, got bigger. Insidious, the Red Door, came and went almost with a goddamn whimper as far as I'm concerned. And I did reviews of every single Insidious movie on the Real Honest Movie Reviews playlist. Check out those. So, yeah, let's just jump on into it. And if you are unfamiliar with the by the numbers concept that I came up with, it's not really an original concept. It's looking at the audience scores and the critical scores on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, and looking at the budget, the opening weekend, the domestic, the worldwide gross. No inflation calculator deal, because these movies came out very recently, even the first one. Even though I was 30 years old when the first one came out, and I'm 42 years old, and boy, do I feel it every day. Nevertheless, other episodes are going to be coming up, including on all the M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong movies, the Omen movies, and a couple others. So yeah, Insidious came out in 2011. So $1.5 million budget, $13.2 million opening, $54 million domestic gross, and just over $100 million worldwide for a $1.5 million budgeted horror movie. That's pretty goddamn good. Audience reception, 62%. Not exactly high, but this one was one of the more revered editions. 6.8 on IMDb. Critical reception just a little bit higher in the audience, 66%. 52 on Metacritic. In all honesty, I never really cared for the Insidious movies. I mean, they would just assault you with jump scare music in the beginning, and while there was some cool imagery, and I always appreciate how they got the most out of the budget, the first Insidious did end up launching a franchise, and you can understand after seeing a $1.5 million budgeted movie making $100 million worldwide, even $54 million in domestically, that is a big goddamn deal. So there you go, they got a hit. So then we go to Insidious Chapter 2. That's an original goddamn title. It actually takes place literally right after the events of the first one. And you know that because it's made from like 30% recycled parts, where they just go back in on their own ass, like the Human Centipede trilogy. Came out in 2013. Budget was a beefy $5 million. Ooh, could they make that back? Yeah, they did, because the opening was $40.2 million. So yeah, $27 million more than the first one. And the domestic gross was $83.5 million and a worldwide gross of $161.9, almost 69. Nice. And that was pretty big. So let's take a look at the audience reception. 57% and 6.8 on IMDb. Okay. A little bit lower on Rotten Tomatoes, same on IMDb. Let's take a look at the critical reception. Ooh, 38%, and that's way too high. Because I pretty much hated Insidious Chapter 2, because they tiptoed through the tulips, through the cliches, through the recycled parts, tiptoe through the cliches, all the stuff that Patrick Wilson had to do with Rose, burning others, doing bullshit, and we got Chapter 3. Okay, I'm done. Tiny Tim, ladies and gentlemen. 40 score on Metacritic. Yes, critic scores are not the end-all be-all, but they were right about this because it just wasn't very good. Insidious Chapter 2 did well, though. It made a shit ton of money because they were like, the first one was so good. Let's go to Insidious Chapter 3. A beefy budget of $10 million. I believe this was the one directed by Lee Winnell, because he was also the writer. It was either that or Chapter 4. Maybe he did both. I recently retro-reviewed the previous 4, and I'm struggling to remember who directed what and who did what. I know Lee Winnell had a hand in writing all of them. So yeah, $10 million, and well, let's just say the box office returns were higher than the first one, but lower than the second one. $22.6 million at the box office. a worldwide or a big gross in the U.S. of 52.2. So it wasn't even as good as the first one. And this came out in 2015, by the way. We were getting fatigue. $112.9 million worldwide. So, okay, bigger than the first. 50 million or almost 50 million lower than the second. 51% audience rating and 6.1 on IMDb. Way too high because Chapter 3 wasn't very good. Chapter 3 had some neat little ideas. But nevertheless, that was a prequel. That was the prequel that had Dylan McDermott in it as a dad. That had one funny line saying, "Why is it quiet? Quiet's bad." So anyway, let's get to 57% critical reception and 52 on Metacritic. Okay, so it's better than Chapter 2. That's not saying much, though. Let's get to Insidious: The Last Key. Some of these are not going to be as long as others because I'm not going to get as detailed and as annoyed. But I will say Insidious: The Last Key pretty much was just one of those movies that didn't make up its goddamn mind what the fuck it was doing. I will say that the actress they had playing the 20-something, 30-something-year-old, Lynn Shay, whoever played the, younger Lynn Shay, like as far as like the adult version, not the elderly version. Boy, I need to see that actress and more stuff. Boy, howdy. But Lynn Shay's also very, very good. Anyway, Insidious: The Last Key, $10 million budget, $29.5 million opening. So, okay, we're getting back on track. That's pretty goddamn good. And a domestic gross of $67.7 million. Okay, so it really didn't even make $40 million more after that. And a $167.8 million worldwide gross. So, all right, just the highest so far. It was very successful worldwide, making $100 million worldwide. And so we get to like a 50% rating for the audience on Rotten Tomatoes, 5.7 on IMDb, 35%, 35%, waffling there for the critics on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 49 on Metacritic. Yeah. And I know right now, as I'm recording, there's this whole controversy with Rotten Tomatoes and like certain things going on with certain people being paid for positive reviews and stuff like that. But generally, for the big budgeted movies, a lot of these things do track. Also, Insidious: Last Key was really, really dog shit. I mean, not good at all. Made no goddamn sense at the end of the day. Then we get to Insidious: The Red Door. So we finalize the whole thing with Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne. Boy, howdy, Rose Byrne. God damn it, Rose Byrne. What a gorgeous woman she is. So, nevertheless, enough gushing over her. Moving on. Patrick Wilson directed Insidious: The Red Door. Biggest budget of the whole goddamn franchise. $16 million. God, what were they going to do with all this extra money? Ow. $33 million opening. I saw this the same weekend that I saw, or the same day I saw Joyride. Joyride was the better of the movies. Joyride deserved a $33 million opening. Go watch Joyride. As in, watch it on streaming because it's not in theaters anymore. But yes, it doubled its budget in the first weekend. And even with marketing, it was profitable already. And it was going to be profitable. The theater I saw it in actually was pretty goddamn packed. So a domestic gross of just over $80 million. So, all right. Not massive, but considering that after movies came back and the pandemic, subsided and more people were going out to theaters, there's also this deal now where the studios are making a push to get movies on to streaming services quicker. Still, that being said, this movie did make quite a bit. It made $188 million at the worldwide box office. So the biggest goddamn deal. That's a big deal. That's some good shit. That was good. And good for them. I mean, and Patrick Wilson's a very good actor and proved himself to have some good, understanding of how to, frame shots and, work with the cinematographer and stuff like that. And the cinematographer does deserve credit for some cool shots here. Unfortunately, Insidious the Red Door wasn't very good because we all knew where the fuck it was going, and the family dynamic could only stretch it so far. When you're in a horror movie, the only thing horrifying was watching Insidious the Red Door. So, yes, 69% audience rating, and it really didn't have a great score on IMDb. I mean, I think it was like 4.5. And then 38% critical rating on Rotten Tomatoes and a 5.5 or 55 rather on Metacritic. So let's just get rid of that. That's it. There really isn't a whole lot to talk about with the Insidious movies, but the fifth one needs to be the end. We don't need to go with, Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne, stuff like that, and going with other characters. Prove that, the law of diminishing returns will kind of end up fucking things up. But that's really all I have to say about that. A lot of these movies just aren't very good, at least in my personal opinion. There were a few nice moments, but as far as anything involving jump scares and as far as anything involving anything scary, well, had jump scares. Didn't really involve anything scary. I don't recall ever jumping even once when I first saw the first movie, and I believe I saw it in theaters. I saw a lot of movies in theaters, so it's entirely possible I ran it on DVD back when video stores were just starting to erode. And it ended up being, just something where I'm like, that's it. That's what everybody was raving about. So nevertheless, yeah, the Insidious movies. What are your thoughts on the Insidious movies? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.